All right, well, welcome. Let's take a look at a little set of questions on cost behavior. This video is designed for students who are just beginning to learn about some concepts in managerial accounting. And so the first thing that we're going to do in this video is we're going to discuss four types of costs. We're going to discuss something called variable costs, fixed costs, which are trickier than they might sound, mixed costs, and then we're also going to be looking at step costs and how those costs behave. All right. So I will tell you that there is, I won't just come out and always define the terms. So if you have absolutely no experience with this, you might look up those four terms: variable, fixed, mixed, and step cost. By the way, mixed costs are sometimes referred to as semi-variable, and that'll make more sense when we get to them. That may even be a question on the handout, I think. So which of the following is true of a variable cost? All right, so variable costs, if we have no activity, we start off at zero. Well, as we have no activity, we start off at zero. Zero what? $0 and 0 cents. And every unit of output changes our cost up or down. We make 10 items at $3 variable cost each. We're going to incur $30 in variable costs. We make 11, it's going to go to 33, and if we drop it back to 9, 27. An example that I like to use for variable cost, unit of output could be time. Think about someone who works and is paid by the hour. Let's say they make $15 an hour. Well, if they don't work, they get nothing. They work 1 hour, they get $15 gross pay anyway. Work 2 hours, 30, 3 hours, 45, and so forth. So we look at our answer choices. The first one says a variable cost in total changes in direct proportion to changes in output. And this is very, very close to what I just said. And so A is actually going to be our correct answer. And let's see here. I want to look through some of the rest of these. And I want you to, not right this moment, but I want you to come back to B later and see if you can say, okay, well, this B is actually this type of cost, and then see if you can figure that out. Let's see here. C will actually not refer to anything, so be careful about that. Make sure you understand why C does not refer to any type of cost. And let's see here. Okay, and so D is also a poor answer because this is the opposite of how variable costs work. It says a variable cost in total increases as output decreases. Well, that's not true. It increases as output increases and decreases as output decreases. So again, we're dealing with linear relationships with variable costs. Trust me, that says linear relationships. So with variable costs, we're always going to have a calculation that we have to perform. However, what we're doing is very, very predictable because of this linear relationship. Think about the $15 per hour, 15, 30, 45, so on. Okay. Question 6 says, which is true of a company's fixed costs? Okay. So letter choice A says a fixed cost in total changes in direct proportion to changes in output. Well, now I believe that is the exact same as answer choice A right here, except we switched out the word variable with the word fixed. Okay, so except for this part right here, A describes a variable cost, as we've already indicated right here. Okay, look at answer choice B. It says a fixed cost within normal operating levels does not change. Okay, and this is, I want to tell you that this is going to be the correct answer, and this is related to a concept that we're going to discuss here in a little bit called relevant range. So fixed costs are simply fixed. You know, if you have a house that you rent for $1,000 a month, it's $1,000 whether you live there alone, whether you have a roommate, whether you have 3 roommates. However, you know, if we get too many people in the house, we might have to get a bigger house that costs more money. Okay, so a fixed cost does not change. That's true, but we have to make this little caveat here of within normal operating levels. Okay, so a fixed cost is easy, right? It's a flat amount in total, and so fixed costs are somewhat easy to deal with if we're talking about what the fixed cost is in total. But don't be fooled. Fixed costs are actually quite tricky because there's more to consider, and we don't get to deal with this linear relationship that we have up here with variable costs. But for our purposes, for number 6, B is correct. I also want to make mention of question or answer choice C. It says a fixed cost in total remains constant regardless of the level of output. This is untrue. Once we exceed relevant range or normal operating levels, fixed costs will actually go up. Okay, so that's why C is a poor choice. Okay, let's see here. And then answer choice D, it says a fixed cost in total increases as output decreases. Well, again, fixed costs, and this is another little learning point, fixed costs are not related to output. Maybe in the long term they might be. As our business grows, we might take on some additional fixed costs, but particularly in the short term, fixed costs have nothing to do with output whatsoever. Okay, that's why we call them fixed. All right, question number 7 says, which of the following is true? This is a very difficult question right here. It says fixed cost per unit remains the same as production increases or decreases, and this is absolutely false. This question here is not asking us the same thing as question 6 is. Notice that answer choices A, B, C, and D all start off the same, fixed cost per unit. Okay, so up here we're talking about fixed cost in total. Here we're talking about fixed cost per unit. Okay, so answer choice A is wrong. B, fixed cost per unit remains the same in total as production increases or decreases. This is actually also not true. When we're talking about fixed cost and production or output, we're dealing with something called an inverse relationship. That is, as one thing goes up, something else goes down. So with fixed cost, we want to understand that as production goes up, again, within a normal operating level, as production goes up, fixed cost in total stays the same, but fixed cost per unit goes down. Similarly, fixed cost in total is the same. However, if production or output goes down, fixed cost per unit increases. So, let's look at answer choice C. It says fixed cost per unit increases as production increases. This is the opposite of what I said. So let's make sure that D is correct. Fixed cost per unit decreases as production increases. Now that's what I said, okay? I want to warn you right now. Students typically do a pretty good job with this right here. Fixed cost in total. Go ahead and jot that down. But when we're talking about fixed cost per unit, students have some level of difficulty with that. Okay, I think what we're going to do here, let's see what our next question is. Bear with me 1 second. Let's go ahead and get one more question in here, and then we'll call it, we'll put the lights out on this video. Question 8. Semi-variable costs include both variable and fixed costs and are also called, this is something that I talked about at the very, very beginning of the video, I believe. And so semi-variable and mixed costs are synonyms. So question 8 is a very, very basic question. This is just what we call remembering. All right, remembering that this and this, these are synonyms. Now later we'll get into breaking out the fixed and variable components of mixed cost, but for now that's all we need to know. And I think we're going to close this video out here and then start another one shortly.